Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the award winning recovery podcast, Get in the Herd, brought to you by the McShin Foundation. I am your host today, Nathan Mitchell, and we have a very special episode because we have with us the elusive, the sits in the room and never gets out. What's that word I'm looking for? Isolating. Um,
Decompressing.
Decompressing. I like that. He's a cosigner. He will cosign your bullshit.
All day.
All day. We have Klay Porter with us, and I say all this about Klay, and of course here he is right here with us. Klay has been recently made the men's program manager here at the McShin Foundation. Currently lives in housing as well, so he's a participant. I've known Klay long enough where. Well, I've known Klay long enough. How about that? We'll leave it at that. So, welcome, Klay, and Art. Good to see you over there. We need another camera facing on you, just to put you in the corner.
Yeah, we need that, and we need a drone.
A drone?
Yeah, any sponsors?
I feel like I am already the drone. Wah, wah,
Uh,
wah, wah. We need a sad trombone button. Can we get that too?
Yep.
Um,
along
Klay,
with the cough buttons.
along with the cough buttons. Klay, man, welcome to the show, my friend. Good to see you. What brings you on today?
Well, you asked me to come on, so generally, I don't know. Plus, I'm trying to get out of the office because I'm so isolated that
Ooh.
I felt like it was the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say more about that. Do you feel isolated?
I don't feel isolated. I feel focused,
Mm.
and I don't like my focus to be interrupted
By random hours of the
By-
show.
Yeah, no. I mean, with this, I don't know. I could really use this today.
Yeah.
Taking about an hour out to speak with you
Yeah.
about various recovery related things.
Various recovery related things. Well, first of all, let's start with how you first found the McShin Foundation. Because it's been a while you've known about us.
How I the very first time.
Sure, start from the beginning. Tell us about your
So-
recovery journey.
Oh man.
Oh
Alright,
man.
So, Jesus. All right. So I first found out about McShin when I kind of was screwing up pre-trial and stuff like that because I've been, messing up for quite a while. And then it got to the point where my only options were like rehab or jail. So I went with rehab and I went to a treatment facility out in like the mountains for 28 days. And then I got out and immediately relapsed. And at that point, I went and did like 6 months in jail. And after that, I got out, went to like an Oxford house, and then got kicked out of there because I kept using. And then I had a friend who I went to that treatment facility with. She was at the recovery apartments, Eco Flats, and it was McShin at the time. They were managing it, so I went straight in there from the streets. I wasn't part of McShin like talking about, but I was affiliated with them because I was living there at the apartments. But I didn't really like come up here to the main office and stuff like that. So that was my first exposure to McShin, and I met a lot of cool people. It was the first time I ever really, I don't know, like found out that like there was a thing called recovery, and that there were people trying to get clean all together, not just all like on their own and stuff. So it was really cool. Plus, it was like my really good friend that was living in the apartments. So it was really good for me at the time, and I ended up staying there for like, I don't know, like 8, 9, 10 months. It was a good while. I was like,
At Eco Flats?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like they were like I was like one of the longest running people there. That's a substantial amount of time for that place.
Yeah.
So, and then I had relapsed and it was bad. But then that was just my first exposure to McShin. And then when I relapsed bad and went on the run for like 3 years and continued to destroy my life, law caught up to me. I was incarcerated on July 26th, 2020. So that's my clean date. And I did like 5 months in jail.
Wait, July 26th, 2020? So you just celebrated 2 years.
No, about to celebrate.
Oh, July 20th. I'm sorry, it's
Yeah.
June.
Yeah. So
Okay. Oh, no kidding.
yeah. So and then that was when I went to jail, and then I did like 5 months in there, and then I got out on 3 bonds to come to treatment because there was no treatment or any help really in the jail that I was in, because the McShin pod was like shut down due to COVID and everything.
Yeah.
So I kind of got things set up to come bed to bed here, and that's what I did.
Well, Clay, I appreciate you giving me that kind of rundown, and I want to focus on or ask you about
Yeah.
the 28-day program you did in the mountains, and the reason I want to ask you about that, I don't know exactly what program, but
Can I say?
I mean, sure, if you want to.
Yeah. It was Life Center of Galax.
Like, okay, Galax, right?
Hmm.
So, what was the exit plan that was put in place before you left Galax?
They refer to it as a relapse prevention plan.
Okay.
Similar to how we have transition or exit plans. Essentially, it's what are you going to do when you get out of here, and you know, we just want to know, if it sounds crazy or not. So, like, what I had worked up with them, I really can't remember because I was kind of still messed up at the time. I was like drug seeking, and I had managed to get on like methadone and Subutex and stuff like that there. But essentially, like I I was more so having a problem with heroin at the time. That
Mm.
was kind of that era of my life. And I got out and I wanted to pursue maintenance with Suboxone. So I set myself up to see like a clinic, I guess, that dealt with that for when I got like back off the bus up here. And I was frantically trying to find somewhere to live, with because I had burned bridges and I really didn't have much at all at that time. So it was a little shoddy, like the plan that I had. Obviously I was like, I'm gonna, go to meetings and things like that. But I was just like, all right, I'm gonna get on Suboxone. I just need to keep me off heroin. I'm gonna try and find a job. Well, actually, no, I still had my job at the bank at the
Well,
time.
so I'm interested in the process of transitioning from Galax out of Galax, and when you put together your
Relapse
relapse
prevention plan.
prevention
Yeah.
plan, yeah, who signed off on it?
It was I think it was, they refer to them as my counselor.
Were these clinicians or were
Well,
these other peers in recovery?
yeah, I don't really know the structure that they had there,
Yeah,
in hindsight, because it's been a while and I was still so
yeah.
messed up. But yeah, I had like an assigned counselor person, and I didn't really relate to her much, but she was the one that did give it to me, and pretty much I gave it to her, and she was just like, "Yep, this sounds like it'll work, and we'll get you set up on, speaking with the clinic for the Suboxone
Yeah.
when I got back up here." But I mean, it really wasn't as hands on, or I don't really remember it being.
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like
Yeah,
I don't want to pick on Galax or any one particular program. What I want to demonstrate though is how important, having an effective transition plan is. And of course, you and I both know, we you can recover anywhere, you can use anywhere, right?
absolutely.
It's about, having tools in place for when those thoughts creep in and when you're gonna, or when things go tits up,
Yeah.
which it's my latest expression lately. But
Cat's pajamas.
the cat's,
Yeah.
but that doesn't apply here though.
That
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
good.
I still like that one.
You still like that one? The cat's pajamas are a good thing. See,
Yeah,
you
tits
know,
up is a bad thing.
yeah, it'd be kind of like the opposite of
You're on
tits
your
up.
on your
Is it
back.
really bad?
I mean,
In this regard, yes.
somebody's ornery over there. Ornery, not any other word with an
Ornery.
H in front of it. Ornery. Yep. Do you feel ornery today?
I don't know what that means.
Well, Alexa, define ornery.
The adjective ornery is usually defined as ugly and unpleasant in disposition or temper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ask me to give you more definition of ornery.
I don't think Alexa can be heard on the air right now, so we probably should have done that. But anyway, uh, uh, that aside, getting back to that transition, right? Like, art, for instance. Now, since art's part of this conversation here too, and you and me, all three of us have gone through McShin, right? We've all gone through McShin. You've gone through other programs. Art's gone through other programs. I haven't gone through any other programs,
Just this one.
just this one. And that actually kind of terrifies me. When I really sometimes sit down and I'm alone in my thoughts, it kind of terrifies me. It's like, oh shit, what do I still have to experience before I actually get this? Grateful I have tools and people and blah 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 blah, and it's not just me, and it terrifies me. And I think about, what where I was a couple of years ago, when I left, I didn't do a transition plan here. I was still working here, so I guess my transition plan was here. I'm moving over there, and I'm going to still work here.
Yeah.
Um, but it is interesting to think about that because when we sit down with participants now, and they bring an exit plan or a transition plan or recovery,
Relapse prevention plan, or yeah, the
yeah,
discharge plan. There's so many
yeah,
different names for it.
whatever you call that, when people bring it to us, and I have real honest conversations. I sit down and I read it. Now, I know that some people, when they come here and when they sign off on those, maybe they don't read as thoroughly. I don't know. But I take my time and read those plans and give honest feedback about that. And I look at the goals. Our plan has, five short-term goals, five long-term goals. And I think the exit plan has fears and this and that. It's a very well thought out document, I think, and it requires some thought, on the
Yeah.
participants and work to put on the participant. And when it's presented to me, sometimes I can read that and say, all right, well, look, that's just everything you've heard in the NA meetings,
Yeah.
and that's great. And what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do step work, and I'm gonna find a sponsor. How are you
Everything they've
gonna
been
do it?
told to do, pretty much.
Yeah, which is great. That's a
Yeah.
great start. I mean, that's an open mindedness, a willingness there. If we're talking the language, I guess, of 12 steps using those terms. But how?
It's
You
pretty
know,
generalized, sometimes
yeah,
what they put down on the plans or what, I've
especially
put down on plans
well,
before.
especially when it's after the 28-day program. The people who leave after 28 days, it's like, all right, but what are you know some words, you got some language, but you don't have tools yet.
Yeah.
But you haven't had your phone in 28 days. How the hell are you gonna contact anybody? You haven't. So I'm always very very mindful when I look at these plans, to give honest feedback, and but I know, like you do and like Art does, I can recover anywhere. I can use anywhere too. So
Absolutely.
yeah, and so anyway, going back to you. Now that we've got on that tangent here, because you being here really is the cat's pajamas.
It is.
No, no.
There we go. There we
Yeah.
go. We call that a callback in the biz, don't we?
I don't know. I'm still learning.
You're still learning.
I'm new here.
All right. Well then, okay. I got two terms for you. I would like you to learn. A Dutch angle. Art. Look this up
Is that
later.
Urban
No, no,
Dictionary?
no, no, no,
What is
no.
this?
It's not disgusting. It's not like a Dutch rudder. That's a totally different thing, isn't it? And I want you to look up. It's a. I'll think about the expression, and I'll get back to you on this.
Writing it down now.
Duly noted.
It's oh, for crying out loud! It's a play. It's I'm gonna look that up in my. I'm gonna look that up as we speak. Tell us about something in your life that's going on. A Chekhov's gun. I want you to look up Chekhov's gun, and I want you to look up Dutch angle. These are two things that are important for storytelling. Well, for storytelling, the Dutch angle, especially when it comes to filmography.
Homework.
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 Done.
Dun dun dun. The cool thing I know about Art is that he actually listens to me sometimes, and I like that.
I do.
I do. Yeah, I
Remain
do.
teachable, right?
Yeah. Well, and
Always.
he teaches me a lot too. I actually, I've been thinking a lot about fulfillment lately, and purpose. And I have a pretty set idea of what purpose is for me, and I have a fairly set idea of the core values that push me towards that purpose, right? And now I'm working on sort of looking at the things in my life that aren't bringing me that fulfillment of that purpose, and which is why having a good conversation with Honesty today was really helpful, because she must, she saw some things, she instigated the conversation, and it was like, cool, this is great, because this is exactly what I needed to hear, and it was exactly what I was feeling. And that, to me, being able to work in an environment where recovery is first and foremost on everybody's mind is really helpful for me.
Oh, yeah.
I can't
Big
imagine
time.
working somewhere else. There are times when I try to imagine it,
Yeah.
and I think, oh, wouldn't that be nice? Especially when my car is on the fritz, or if I need to put a new battery, or something anyway. But this relates to you because you're in a position, you were on staff for a little while. I mean, you were a driver for a while.
Long while.
A long while, yeah.
Yeah.
And you've been a house leader.
Correct.
You know, you've lived in our housing, and now I don't know exactly would you go from driving to.
So I started, I finished the 20-day program. I transitioned into sober living, and I worked with John Schinholzer slightly there for a little bit, doing what Art's doing now, but it wasn't my forte. So, and
What Art's doing now?
well, not, but like some of the media stuff. I was supposed to be doing some media projects with John, and then
Oh.
like working with Todd and stuff, and I
Yeah.
was just like, man, I don't want to be wasting your time. Like, I don't know. I wasn't really stabilized at the point yet in my early recovery, and I was like, I don't want to waste your time. So then I
Art, do you feel stabilized? Because I sure as hell don't.
well, I mean, Art's doing a great job. Yeah,
You
I
are.
was not. I was procrastinating and letting fear kind of guide that moment in my life. But so when that didn't really pan out, I became a driver, a volunteer here, and then I started driving for Jesus, the longest time. Probably,
6'2" in a compact.
man, I was driving for like almost a year, and then just kind of worked my way up to like driving coordinator, coordinating everything, the driving lead and stuff like that, and then I had to go back to jail and turn myself in for my most recent charges. And then
And you were sober when you
and I
did
was
it.
sober when I did that. That was
And-
in November of
Wow.
last year. And then I got out, had to do 2 months out of a 10-year sentence because I was doing so well here. And then
Wait, say that again.
I did 2 months out of a 10-year sentence because of the progress that I made while here at the McShin Foundation.
Okay, I actually didn't realize that.
Yeah, and it was actually
Ser-
52 days out of 2 months.
52
Yeah, 'cause
days
of
out
the-
of 10 whole. Wait, 10 months or 10 years?
10 years
52 days out of 10 years
for that most recent charge. Yes,
because you were doing so well here.
correct.
That's insanely
Yeah,
awesome.
I think COVID also had something to do with that. But
Well,
either way, I put a
let's-
lot of effort into what I was doing while I was here.
Yeah, I mean, COVID, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But, if they want you, they're going to get you.
Absolutely.
They want trust and believe. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, when I went into court, they were just like, "Oh, they're not gonna, hinder your progress by making you go back to jail and stuff." And I was like, "Yeah, well, I'm gonna prepare for that because I really got some crappy luck." So they were kind of out for a little bit, regardless of how well I was doing. And I was, accountability is a big part of my program and things like that. So I was like, "All right, whatever." I surrendered to that, and I knew 2 months is nothing. I've done well over that at a stretch. So I went in, took care of business, got out, came back, did my peer recovery specialist training, and got back to driving for McShin for a little bit there. And then I was offered a position as a peer recovery specialist. And then I did that for a brief while, maybe like a few months, maybe a couple months. And then I got this latest gig, the men's program manager.
Well, so before we go into that, what did you do for those 2 months while you were in jail?
I was sponsoring myself.
Yeah. How'd that
I
go?
was. I mean, I was in a safe environment to be able to sponsor myself, luckily. But I stopped at the 4th step of Alcoholics Anonymous because I was like, I'm just gonna have to do this over anyways. So I just kind of stopped. But I just stayed busy. I exercised. I just read whatever books I could obtain that were, good for my spiritual condition, and there weren't just like some smut jailhouse books, which they have a lot of those.
Smut jailhouse
yeah,
books.
just like some weird stuff in there. But yeah. So then,
we went to different jails. I know that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
there
So
wasn't a lot of smut where I was.
was
A
just
lot of
like-
Bibles.
yeah.
Like I said,
what do they
that's
call
good
them? Urban books? I'm not sure.
Urban books,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Yeah.
Urban books.
So I steer clear of the urban books, and I read a lot of like spiritual books, things like that. Obviously, just whatever was available. But I mean, I just tried to come up with a plan on what I was going to do when I got out.
Yeah.
Because it kind of did kind of pause my life a little bit there. But 2 months is nothing. I mean, 2 months is 2 months in jail, but
Still.
this was the only time in my life when I've been in jail and I've known exactly when it was that I was going to be getting out. Every other time it's like no bond, no bond, no bond. And I'm just like, I'm going to be in here forever. And
Do you have anything left hanging over your head?
I mean, no, there's no pending charges or anything like that. I'm just on probation still. But they're looking to obviously get me off pretty soon because, again, of the progress I made while at the McShin Foundation.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And now you've transitioned into this new bigger role. So let's talk about that. What are you doing now? the men's program manager, but what else are you doing? Because I know that initially, a couple of months ago, they were like separating the step up houses kind of sort of out of that role. And it feels like you kind of have 10 houses that you're managing right now. So talk to me. Is that what I'm hearing?
All right,
Because that's a lot.
so yeah, I do a lot of things around here now, which is good. It keeps me busy and and stuff. But yeah, so right now, well, prior to probably the past couple weeks, it was I'm overseeing
Yeah.
the program participants here at McShin, and that consisted of pretty much two houses entirely, and then also overseeing about the other eight men's sober living houses. So it was a total of 10 houses that I was overseeing, and the house leaders that are in charge of each of those individual houses. And it's a lot. There's like 103 beds here at the McShin Foundation, and
Men's beds.
men's
Right.
beds, 103 men's beds, and just that, I mean, all kinds of things, trying to keep order in the houses,
What?
try to
No.
work with, the people that are struggling. Anybody has any questions about recovery, needs any help with anything, I'm willing to help them out. And then here recently, to kind of help out with the caseload, we've taken some of those houses, um, the oversight or the overseeing those houses away. So I've only got about 6 houses now that I have to directly oversee, but obviously I'm still responsible for overseeing all of
Yeah.
them. So the lines are blurred and things like that, but I mean, it still works. I've gotten to know pretty much most of the participants here in the program since I started through intensive until now. So, I mean, it's easier that way that I've been around here for a while because I've already kind of built those relationships with the men here.
Yeah. Well, I get that. I'm glad you said the word blurred. The lines being blurred, with recovery period, but working in recovery, working in a place. I'm the same way. Art is as well. We've all um, gotten, well, I don't want to say gotten clean. We've found recovery, and maintained our recovery here at the McShin Foundation. And we've found it elsewhere, but this is where we've all three of us, have currently maintained our recovery. How about that?
Sustained it, yeah.
Sustained it, yeah, sustained our recovery, and that's very important to me. And as a person who is now in recovery, who works in the same place where I got into recovery, um, when I lived here, I had to learn, and I still have to learn this, but I had to learn how to draw really hard boundaries. And I was a house leader while I worked here for most of the time that I worked here. There was a tiny little gap where I wasn't, and then another tiny gap where I was traveling, and um, well, and then moved out. But for me, it was really, really important to learn how to do that. And you have a benefit. Art just recently got his driver's license. You have the benefit of having a driver's license, and you have a car too.
Um,
You have a
part
car.
time,
What
part time. Yeah, I have
part? All right.
access to many vehicles.
Well, right. So you have
Yeah.
access to a vehicle. It was important for me to have a vehicle and be able to. Well, it was important initially because I didn't. I had friends who had vehicles.
Yeah.
And got who weren't McShin, and got out of this place. And not to say it's a bad place. It's just like for me to draw boundaries, it meant I have to go seek recovery elsewhere.
Elsewhere, yeah.
Because what inevitably happens, and I'm sure you're experiencing this now. It's like if I'm in this building, somebody's asking me about something to
There's some
work
question
related. And
forming, yeah.
like I can't tell you how many times I walk in here on a Saturday to get something out of my office, and I'm here for an hour and a half, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And it's tough because it's not just participants, it's the staff. Like
It's everybody and anybody.
I do it to people, and I kick myself when I realize that I'm doing it. It's like I'm violating unspoken boundaries, and like it's your day off.
Yeah.
Take your day off. I want to have my day off.
What's that?
It's well, and so I guess the question then is, how are you dealing with creating boundaries and maintaining those boundaries, and how are you keeping your recovery?
Uh,
What does that look like for you?
I feel attacked right now.
No, no. Oh gosh, no. I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. I'm
That's
kidding.
not
I'm
at
kidding.
all. That's not my intention at all.
So that was a loaded question. Let me start with the boundaries part that I really don't seem to be able to stand by my own boundaries. It's difficult in this field, you know. It's really difficult. It's difficult for me being, I think, the kind of person that I am that wants to help people, and I'm super codependent,
Mm.
you know, and I'm still sick, even after almost a couple years, you know, of sustained recovery. But I struggle with boundaries. You know, I don't know. I mean, the main thing I learned about codependency is to place your boundaries and, you know, learn to say no. But I'm a people pleaser and stuff. So yeah, y'all see me working when I'm not supposed to be working and working from home and things like that. So I mean, it's really difficult, and also being a participant in the program as well as the men's program manager. It's really difficult. There's no like off time for me.
Yeah, because technically you oversee the guy who oversees you.
Yes. Yeah, it's really weird. It's kind of really
Yeah.
weird right now. It's an awkward phase of my life. But yeah, I mean it just it works right now, but I don't know. I'm kind of having to reassess and reevaluate like what my goals are and what it is that I'm doing, what my next step is from here, because I don't want to. I'm at the point where I feel like I'm kind of taking up a bed, you know, that someone that may need it a little bit more or a lot bit more than
Mm.
than myself. So, but other than that, like the boundaries, it's really difficult. I mean, I place them, but people don't respect them. So I go, okay, all right,
Well,
yeah. And I don't
well,
want to be an asshole. I'm trying not to be an asshole.
there's people not respecting boundaries, and then there's reasserting the boundary, as necessary in a healthy, assertive way. I haven't found that exactly what
Yeah,
works for me,
yeah.
and I think it works differently with everybody I interact with. But there are certain things that I've gotten really good about, and sometimes I realize, sometimes I even look at myself and I'm like, man, I sounded like a dick because oh, I'm scared. But like at the other end of that, it's like, no, I have to set this boundary. I did it to you the other day. You sent me an email. I was like, no,
Yeah.
and actually it was like the third person you had assigned to me at that point without talking to me first, and I was like, well, wait a second. First of all, no, because he was my coachee before, right? But second of all, you need to have a discussion with me, and it's
Absolutely.
not just a me thing. It's like, it's like I'm not trying to be picky of who it is. It's like my time is also, and in fact, like to the point where like I was just told I can't take any, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, that's not going to work for me either. Like I need to have a coachee. I'm codependent AF.
Yeah.
But no, and in all seriousness though, it's like, respecting the other people around is like, okay, I also am now like I got a phone call from a staff member who's not like a friend of me, and I mean that's I know it's a distinction I make, but
Yeah.
like I got a phone call from a staff member on Sunday at like 2 in the afternoon. I'm like, I'm not picking this up.
Yeah.
Like like it wasn't my boss, which even then I'd be like, why you call me?
Yeah.
It was another staff member. Like, yeah, I'm not picking this up.
It's
This could be done through email, which I can read at my leisure. I'm doing Nathan stuff at this time.
digital barriers. That's
You
what I'm
know,
kind of trying to learn right now as
Yeah,
well. It's really difficult because I mean, I just, I don't know.
it's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough because we also living in housing or having lived in housing and being in the same place where I found recovery. It's like so many of my friends have. Well, I mean, I didn't know anybody in Richmond when I got here. So almost everybody I know in Richmond, almost everybody I know, and my closest friends have some kind of tie to this place,
Stems from McShin. Yeah.
which is amazing, brilliant, lovely. And, it's like I realized like art, like I'm becoming really buddy buddy with art, friends, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to create that dynamic where he doesn't want to pick up the phone and talk to me on a
Because
day
you're a
off.
McShinian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we work together,
Yeah.
which is, it's like I look at the phone and I'm like, "Oh, what the hell do you want?" There's certain people,
Yeah.
staff, participants, etc. Like I'm actually really good. Like they're I don't if it's a staff participant, I mean a McShin participant, and they're calling me like 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, yeah, there's nothing I can do to help. I'm not the guy who makes decisions,
Yeah.
on housing and this and that and the other. So it's like people are constantly saying, "Well, how do I get back into McShin?" You call Joyce.
Yeah,
It's
the
like
admissions.
you all know how to do this, and I love that, and I want to be of service. But at the same time, it's like you have the tool. You just need to use the tool. You want me to do it for you, and I don't do that for people anymore. It's been something that I've just continued to just train other people. Oh, okay. I thought we lost it there for a second. Train other people how we want our boundaries respected by actually respecting our boundaries ourselves. And it's an exercise. It's a constant exercise.
And I have to kind of start being like an asshole because being that, I started at the bottom, now I'm here or whatever. Like I made friends with a lot of people. And before I even was like, a driver or like a PRS or any of that stuff. And now because they know me, they just like other participants here in the program, they come to me directly for damn near everything.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult. Because it's things that like, I'm like, speak to your house leader about this issue. I'm not your
Yeah.
house leader. Or like if it, I can't fix everybody's problems. And my codependent side is like, yes, you can. You're gonna save the world. You're gonna do this.
I relate to that.
And it sucks. It's a
do.
double-edged sword. But yeah, and then so all I do with that really is I just don't answer the phone. And I'm like, you'll get the hint. Like it's 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday. Like, why are you calling me? I can't do anything. I'm trying to get some sleep, but it's just the nature of the beast with, this type of
It is the
field.
nature of the beast. And on the other side of that coin, for me at least, is when I stick to my boundaries and when I see people trying to violate those boundaries and then, eventually figure it out and do things the way they need to do them on their own, or figuring out using the resources and the tools they have. And I'm a I if I got a resource and I know what to do, I'm going to say, well, here, this is where you need to go.
Try to empower them or
Try
like
exactly.
educate them on how to do it themselves
It is
instead of
so
just doing it
cool.
for them
Yeah.
because it's easiest.
And it's so cool to watch people do that. It can be frustrating because I want to dip in and be like, I can fix this and I can do it faster and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I struggle, especially, we're not supposed to have favorites, but we do.
Yeah.
And it's like some people are, and now I'm learning actually, I think with many of the people I like the most are the ones, boy, this is really not the best conversation to have here. Nobody's listening anyway. But the people that I really connect with and resonate with are the ones I probably push the hardest away, push on my boundaries, just because I'm like, no, I like you because you're smart. Go figure this shit out.
Yeah, I know you can do
I
it.
know you
Now
can do
go
this.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, so much of that is recovery. Look, man, this conversation took a turn that I didn't want it to take. But
Sorry
I
about
think
it.
I think we'll take a little break, and then I want to talk about history, and I want to talk about why I asked you to be on the show
Yeah.
today. So we'll be back in like 2.5 minutes or so. We're going to show a little cool video. And while you're watching this little video, if you're watching, I want you to pay a lot of attention to the camera work. That's a drone that's coming up and doing this really cool stuff. We don't have that drone anymore, and we'd like to get a drone. So think about that while you're watching.
If any of you have a drone.
Here at McShin, we believe in the McShin way, which is authentic recovery support service providers, people with lived experience, bringing that experience to those who need that lived experience in recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in many things to support our mission. We believe in women empowerment.
What I love most about what we believe here at McShin is we believe in the authenticity of the peer-to-peer approach.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in giving people opportunity.
Here at McShin, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
At the McShin Foundation, we believe in helping people reach their full potential.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in multiple pathways to recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in placing principles before personalities to help spread hope.
Here at McShin, we believe that recovery is possible and that any person seeking recovery can become a more acceptable, responsible, and productive member of society.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in self-discovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in saving lives and offering second chances.
Here at McShin, we believe you can do this.
Here at McShin Foundation, we believe that we can only keep what we have by giving away, which is why we continue to help others like us seek and find recovery.
And we're back, everybody. Good afternoon. And if you have no idea what the hell you're watching or listening to right now, let me refresh your memory. This is the award-winning, gotta put that in, award-winning recovery podcast, Get in the Herd, brought to you by the McShin Foundation. I am still your host, Nathan Mitchell. I think I'm going to introduce myself that way all the time now. I'm still your host, Nathan Mitchell.
Still your host, yeah.
I'm still your host. Yeah. And we are with Klay Porter, Klay with a K.
It's important.
Klay with a K. Then we're going to talk today about the real reason I asked Klay to be on the show today. Dun dun dun! This is your life. That voice you hear is your mother coming in the door. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That was too much.
I accept you for who you are.
Exactly. Ooh, I don't know why that just hit me in the back of my like almost like horseradish hits back here.
Oh, horseradish hits you like that?
Yeah. Ooh, I got it. That's the way you said that. Ooh.
You're welcome.
Today is June 28th, 2022. And for those of you out there keeping score, and the reason I say that is because today is the anniversary, the 53rd anniversary of the Stonewall riots. The Stonewall riots, I brought up with Klay the other day, and Klay said, Stonewall, what? And I was like, man, let's talk about it. Oh, look at this. Okay, so Art's putting this up here. So
once you look at that,
the Gay Liberation Front. It's interesting. Actually, this is really interesting, the picture you're showing here. First of all, that's from the movie. That's not actually.
Oh, that's not actual.
I don't think that's actual footage. And the reason I say that,
it's so good.
It just looks too clean. You know what I mean?
Not vintage.
They look too happy. It looks too posed. But so let's talk about this. So in June 28th, 1969, early hours of the morning of June 28th, the Stonewall Inn, which is still a bar club in Greenwich Village in New York City. And that night, in the late 60s, throughout the 60s, most of the gay bars in New York were run by the mafia, who didn't really give a crap about gay rights. They just gave a crap about making money.
The money.
And what would happen is, they would regularly get raided by the police because, of course, all that stuff was illegal back then. Being gay was just illegal. And they'd get raided by the police, and the police would get paid off. I mean, this was it was a racket on all ends, But for whatever reason, that particular night, the people fought back. And they fought back, and they weren't going to pay them off. And they fought back, and people got hurt. And, it's interesting because the story often gets whitewashed. And I mean whitewashed is you often see, white male figures coming back from that. But the story as it goes is it was the people of color, the drag queens, people of color, who were the real leaders in charge in front there, fighting against the police who started beating the ever-loving crap out of people because they wouldn't pay money. So it became an issue. A lot of people got arrested, yada yada, hurt, yada yada yada. And the next year, there was the first gay rights march in New York, and I think after that it started becoming in other places. So Now we celebrate Pride Month in June as a direct result. Most places across the United States,
except for Richmond.
Except for Richmond. But to be fair, I would much rather celebrate in the end of September when the weather's nicer, or generally nicer than the hot nastiness that we usually get this time of year here in June. Although to be fair, I don't know what it's like outside right now, but it was quite pleasant yesterday, even with the rain. But it's 79 degrees outside.
Thank you,
Art is on top of
I'm on
things
it
today.
today.
Damn. This is what happens when he takes a day off.
Yeah.
Thank you. And he went and bought an Alexa and all this stuff. But so we celebrate that. We celebrate what came from that. And there were people doing the work before that, obviously. But that really was a watershed moment. And then, throughout the 70s, you have these conflicts, these celebrations and these conflicts and these events, all culminating, well, not culminating, I guess, but, getting to the 80s where, you have suddenly, the AIDS epidemic, popping up. And so without getting too deep into that necessarily, because that's something that affects us now anyway. I mean, it's certainly, I know you're younger than I am. How old are you?
I am 32 years young.
Yeah, you're several years younger than I am. So, well, and I say this because I grew up a child in the 80s, and I hit the early 90s. I went to high school in 1990. I started high school in fall of 1990, and as a person hitting puberty in the late 80s, early 90s, all I knew of who I was that anybody who had feelings like I did caught AIDS and died.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you were just an old bitter queen on a show somewhere, and you weren't the fun friend that you became in the late 90s. You were the anti-hero, not the anti-hero. You were the villain often, or you were just the character in the corner, that people made fun of and laughed at, and that's how it was often portrayed. The scapegoat often, yeah. I mean, and you have very few helpful or healthy renditions of what it meant to be gay on TV, in the media. And often you had a lot of people showing, the horribleness of it. And you had politicians and policymakers up there trying to legislate, something that just can't do. And it's a great. What's awesome is that now here is 2022, and we don't have these problems at all anymore. Everything is everything.
Not right now, at least.
Yeah, no, everything is awesome. Yeah, no, I'm being sarcastic, and you know that, right? We're still fighting these fights. And
Fighting the good fight.
Fighting the good fight. But it's important to know the history a little bit and to know where we're coming from and to know that, I am an out and proud gay man in recovery. And I talk about that more and more. I don't know that I was never in the closet when I first got here, but it wasn't something that was always the first and foremost that I talked about.
Yeah.
I still don't talk about it first and foremost because it isn't the only thing that defines me. But when it comes to acceptance of who I am, that's fairly settled stuff. I would love to say it's 100%, but it's not. But it's fairly settled stuff. The acceptance things that I deal with on a daily basis now are the getting older. You were joking, but the reality, I mean, getting older and all the things the health issues that come with that, the just the stuff that, again, things that are out of my control. I can't control my aging. There are things I can do. I can exercise or eat better that I choose not to do.
Yeah.
But these are all the things. So I'm rambling. Talk to me. Talk to me. Tell me about your. Well, do you want to? Is there anything you want to say? Because I don't want to put your business out there.
No, put me on blast. Out me. I don't care.
Well, you out yourself. It's your story to tell.
I'm a proud homosexual male. I don't know.
There you go. Well, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, so thank you, because I'm not outing people as a rule unless you're nasty, horrible, disgusting.
Don't be an old bitter queen.
Yeah, nasty, horrible, bitter queen who's voting against me and then out there in the bathhouses. But
stop it.
Well, these are things that happen.
True.
And still happen, actually.
But no, that's cool to know about the Stonewall thing. I do like that. To know that people are, passionate. I guess
Well, so how does being gay? Because I was gonna say you've had tell Ryan to shut up. Tell Ryan.
Let me put this phone away. Put that down there.
How does being gay and working in this industry, how does that affect you, or does it at all?
Well, I've been out for quite a while now. I think I don't know. I came out, I think, when I was in full blown alcoholism. So I think I was like 22, maybe 23. So I've been out for a little while now, and being here, I mean, it's just the same as before I came here. I'll tell whoever, what my sexual orientation is. But I don't go around like boasting it and stuff, because I want people to kind of get to know me for me first before they find that out about me. It works better for me that way, and I've had better experiences that way because I want people to see my character before I let them know that, because people are still judgmental. People are still evil humans, unfortunately, and not everybody, but I don't know. So then when they people here, they like, not everybody here knows, I guess, like participants, not all the participants really know, and people like talk and stuff like that. People are gonna talk, but a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't know, oh, Klay, really? I'm like, I mean, I was just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, how do you respond to that?
I don't know,
because I haven't figured that out myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I accept it for what it is, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I've had a good experience here being an openly gay man here, but there's been hate as well. I've had very little hate from people. It was at the beginning while I was like still freshly like out of intensive, the 20-day program and stuff like that, but it's been addressed. A lot of hate, but it it made me see red when somebody said the things that they did to me, because like I will defend my character to the bitter end, and it just had me seeing red, and I was just like, I about lost it for real, because this person that was saying these things to my face was like, buddy and accepting of me for who I was and things, but then behind my back was saying some stuff, so that really just kind of irked me a little bit, a lot of it, kind of had to speak with somebody about that because I just didn't want to snap on them or anything.
Yeah.
But it was addressed, and they apologized, and we were good after that, but I've had a really good experience here with that, other than that one moment.
Well, it's interesting. I've had, I had my experience, and I've talked to this person. I mean, why don't I just tell the experience? So, initially, my story, I was here as a participant for 3 months, knew everything, and then left for 4 months, and then realized I didn't know everything and came back. But those first 3 months, I had the same house leader for most of that time, and I don't remember oh yeah, I do remember my first assistant house leader. But when we needed, let's just say it this way, when we needed a new assistant house leader, I was asked about it, but the comment I got from the house leader at the time was, well, if you take it, you're going to have to stop talking about dick as much as you talk about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here I am, like 2 months into recovery. I'm just starting to figure out like who I am as a person again. And I'm starting to get into some self-acceptance things that I never thought I had a problem with. And I've got this guy telling me I can't talk about my sexuality, because that's essentially what he's saying. Because I'm like, well, I don't talk about dick any more than anybody else talks about pussy. And in fact, I'm sure it's less. I'm sure it's less because I know I'm protective of myself. So I took that to heart, and I said, you know what, I don't want this opportunity. And I let that be a definition for me. And now that person and I are still really close and friends. And so, I mean, we've talked about that and whatever since then, but it was a real moment for me. And then following that up, when I came into this is stuff I never talk about. Well, I never talk about online, but I'll talk about this here because this is something that you might relate to, maybe not. But the way we do urine screens around here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the way we do it is, it's a guy and a girl, which in and of itself has some issues because we now have some non-binary and transgender people, people who are transgender in our housing. So we start to get into the waters of, okay, what do we do? And it turns out we just ask the people, but that's another story.
Yeah.
When I became a house leader and staff member, and we talked about, I'm going to do this. I brought up that particular concern again. I'm like, well, well, I had some fear. I had some
Yeah, I don't like
fear.
doing it.
Well, and to the point where, I definitely had some fear about it. And I put this whole idea in my head that, all right, I'm bracing myself for the most horrible things I can imagine. And then something happened almost immediately when I started doing it. Somebody said something that wasn't horrible, but was kind, but also, can I get somebody else because of your proclivity? And I didn't know how to handle that. I was alone in a bathroom with a person, and I don't know how to handle this. Because what happened, I was like, well, okay, you go down there and tell, the program director at the time. And anyway,
Yeah.
I ended up doing the urine screen, but afterwards I realized there's a piece there that I took on personally that I wish I hadn't. I was alone.
Yeah.
First of all, I wish I hadn't been alone, right? Um, and I recognized afterwards that, oh, wait a second, I don't know what kind of trauma this person is coming into the experience with, and who knows, And I never asked that again. And afterwards, I actually, because I went immediately after I did that, I went and talked to Jesse and the men's program director at the time, like, I don't know what I should have done, blah 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 blah. They didn't either. We kind of figured out we're fine, but I ended up talking to that participant later on, and sort of like, I wish I had done this better. And he was like, "No, you were fine." We ended up becoming fine after that, and in fact, we lived together in a house for I think about a year. So, there were
It's
other.
nothing personal.
It wasn't
Yeah.
anything personal, and I'm really, I wish I hadn't taken it personally, but I'm glad that I don't know. I have a lot of
How
questions
dare
about
you?
that.
How dare you
Yeah.
think that? Yeah.
Because I'm just interested in getting the urine
Yeah.
in
I
the
just
cup.
want to know what's in your pee.
And I know that that's probably a lot to discuss on the show, but these
Yeah.
are like we have real life situations here, and the thing is like everybody coming into recovery, most people coming into recovery, I should say, myself very much included, are sort of discovering what acceptance means for them, and I think a lot of what we're doing here is learning how to accept whatever it is that we're not accepting, whether it's our alcoholism, our addiction, our bodies, our sexuality. These are things that we're coming in here to explore and accept, and it can be a little messy sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Absolutely.
really helpful to have people around here who
Have
are
the lived experience.
have the lived experience. Yeah. And so that's why, I live out. Just before the show, about noon, somebody popped in and said, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And this person, not somebody I normally talk to, somebody, and this person sat down and unloaded a whole bunch of stuff that I struggled. A lot of the conversation I'm having now is just
Yeah.
stuff that I just had because it was a lot of some of the same things I struggled with when I first got here. And it's an honor to be able to be in a position to have these conversations. Um, and it's an also, I get to some honesty about, I don't know all the solutions. I don't have all the solutions.
Some of the situations are difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
I mean, either they haven't already been navigated previously by someone else, or obviously we haven't been the ones to do it. But yeah, it can be a little bit difficult, but we do our best.
Yeah, well, I agree though. I think we do our best, and I do think that is so that it is important for us, in positions of authority is what we are, here as staff,
Yeah.
peer leaders, as we navigate our own waters and get to our own acceptance, that we share that acceptance. To use the language of 12 steps, as a program of attraction, and not necessarily promotion. But not at all promotion, really. I'm not saying you need to be this way. I'm just saying if you
Yeah.
are this way, you're okay.
Well, when I came through the intensive program, I remember my recovery coach was actually a trans individual, and she went by she, her, I believe, and that made me feel really, really comfortable here. Because I don't know, I still, like, even though I'm out and stuff, depending on if in the world, I want to feel like I fit in and I belong. And when I came here, I was like, oh God, I'm going to be getting sober and I can't get high or drunk to mask these feelings of like not feeling like I belong. So I was like, God, this is going to suck, And then I came here and I was assigned a recovery coach and they were trans and we had a lot of good conversations, and it just made me feel welcome.
Yeah.
And they're no longer here anymore, but I'm glad that I had that experience while they were here.
Yeah.
Because it definitely helped me feel like I belonged.
Yeah.
And I stuck around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool because that particular person, they helped a lot of other people too. Not only accept that part, but also kind of learn and grow. Certainly, I learned a lot from them, and continue to. I mean, just the way I'm on the ethics committee and the way we work with individuals. It's like, oh wait, we can have conversations that aren't offensive about
Yeah.
these things. And we can work to do better, which is kind of neat.
The diversity and inclusion.
Yeah. I don't know. We covered a lot of ground. Doesn't seem like it was seemed like it was a kind of unmoored. Unmoored is my word of the day.
Is it? You're pulling
Yeah.
out some random words that I ain't even heard before.
Me?
Yeah.
Do I? No.
Nathan tends to do that.
Do I?
What was it? Realty. What was the one word?
Fealty.
Fealty.
Fealty. Fidelity to it's a it's another word for loyalty. But I think it's a little more on a feudal. I don't know.
Feudalism.
Feudal. Yeah. Well, I wish I. Yeah. Anyway, fealty to a lord, essentially, or fealty to some sort of nobleman. Yeah. No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't throw random words out there. I'm accessible. All right.
He's accessible, right? All right, he's accessible.
No, what are you talking about here? It's not like
Don't go picking it up.
I am actually.
Don't you do that?
I'm trying to remember a word. Sesquipedalian is what I'm thinking of, right?
Why do you got to do that?
Well, I mean, would you call me sesquipedalian?
I don't even know what that is.
You wouldn't? No.
I mean, probably. I probably would.
You probably would. Well, I mean, me, and perhaps my vocabulary could be somewhat described that way. I tend to be somewhat loquacious.
Salacious. I love salacious.
Salacious. Yes. Well, yes, but please don't define. Please, you don't define me as salacious.
No.
That would be weird.
Salacious is one of those words I learned with Nathan. Well, that sounds weird, but
we did, but why?
It was Salacia. It was the god of the Neptune's wife or girl.
Salacia.
Salacia. Yeah.
Where was that?
There was a few of us in the car. We were coming back from getting sushi, I think. That was Neptune.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
That's right. Yes, because I often make the joke that and Neptune wept after we left eating sushi, and somebody said, "No, you mean Poseidon?" And I'm like, "Well, it could be either one, but that's Was that you who said Poseidon?"
No.
Somebody said Poseidon.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah. There's often, and I always appreciate this. Oh, sesquipedalian loquaciousness. I like this. There's a lot of contrarianism in my car after sushi. Well, in general in my car, but particularly after sushi, because I always try to find interesting people to have in the car when I'm going to get food. If I'm going to sit and eat for an hour and a half and wolf down an F ton of sushi, you better be somewhat interesting to me. Like I don't. My time is valuable to me. I do not want to put myself. My personal time talking about boundaries, right? When I go out to eat or hang out with people, like my time is valuable.
Absolutely.
It's me, and I protect that time. So if I'm going to go out and eat dinner with people, it's going to be people who are going to be interesting. And for me, interesting is often people who, have slightly different opinions. Maybe not completely different, because I don't want to murder people.
Yeah.
How about let's practice fealty to Clay's time, and
Yeah.
Full circle.
And we call that a callback. Sesquipedalian.
Sesquipedalian, yeah.
Sesquipedalian means either slightly long-winded and or a lot of syllables, polysyllabic.
And then that bitch Salacia.
Felicia.
Not Felicia. All right, bye Salacia.
Bye Salacia.
On that note, do you have anything else you want to add before we close out what happens to be a crazy show?
No. Sorry.
Fascinating.
Deep stuff.
Thank you. Very good to have you here today. And Art, would you like to say anything before we go?
No. Thank you, Clay, for coming on the show. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. I'll try not to be as elusive going forward. Maybe we can do this again at another time.
Stay elusive. It makes it fun.
Stay elusive.
Yeah.
Stay
Where's Clay?
Yeah.
Where's Clay?
In my office. You know where to find me.
We're gonna get you we'll get you a striped shirt and some round
stripes.
Yeah, red
Where's
stripes.
Walden?
No
Yeah,
stripes.
thank you.
Oh,
You got the
okay.
reference. Anyway, everybody, thank you for staying with us on this Round the World show today. We will see you on Thursday at 2 p.m. Going forward. And I just want to say thank you again to Art for everything, for being here, setting this up, and to our philabulous.
Falafel.
Man, this is what happens. I get to the hour mark. I get to the hour mark and I can't talk.
The hour mark. All right, fair enough.
I get to the hour mark and I can't talk. So anyway,
This is what recovery looks like. by the
yeah,
way.
this right here. Oof. Anyway, thank you again, Clay, for being
You're
here today.
welcome.
Really appreciate you.
Gracing you with my presence.
Everybody out there watching, listening, thank you for being here. See you Thursday. Stay in the herd.